Chapter 40. Secret Art of Emperor Flame. Currently, Xiaoyan's strongest monarch skill was the incomplete version of the Sky Spill Fist. As one of the 4 punches of the Heavenly Silence Fist, although the Sky Spill Fist was only a high-grade monarch art, its power was extremely powerful. After Xiaoyan advanced to the Sovereign Realm, it became easier for him to use the Sky Spill Fist. When Xiaoyan was still a fighting monarch, the origin monarch ki in his body could only be used 4 or 5 times, but now, it was enough for him to squander. Even so, as his strength increased, Xiaoyan felt the lack of the monarch skill in his hand. It was still alright for him to fight with the devil beast, but if he were to fight someone, he would definitely be the one at a disadvantage if he did not have the flexible monarch skill. Therefore, when he heard that Yi Tianqian was going to teach him the monarch skill, his heart began to pound. Could the monarch skill in the ultimate saint expert be an ordinary item? Thinking of this, Xiaoyan felt his breathing quicken. Elder Yi, what level is the monarch skill? He couldn't wait to ask this question. It couldn't be a low-grade monarch art, or at least a monarch spell. Yi Tianqian smiled. What he said made the smile on Xiaoyan's face freeze. Mid-grade monarch art. Xiaoyan, who had just recovered from his shock, frowned and said, Elder Yi, a mid-grade monarch art is worthy of you teaching me personally. Yi Tianqian chuckled after hearing this, it's good that you know who I am. A mid-grade monarch art is not worth teaching me, but this mid-grade monarch art is not an ordinary one. Oh, Xiaoyan's heart skipped a beat, and he pondered for a moment. He asked cautiously, could it be that this monarch art can evolve into some monarch arts? Yi Tianqian glared at Xiaoyan, then cleared his throat and said, little guy, don't go that far. Even if I give you the monarch arts now, will you be able to use it? This monarch skill is not ordinary because it is not for people to cultivate. Xiaoyan was startled. It was not for people to cultivate the monarch skill. Actually, to be more precise, this is no longer a kind of monarch skill. It is more like a secret technique. Yi Tianqian thought for a moment and said, perhaps it's more appropriate to call it a monarch flame secret skill. Monarch flame secret skill. Xiaoyan first whispered to himself, then his mind suddenly moved. His eyes were filled with shock as he looked at Yi Tianqian. Elder Yi, could it be that this thing is for the monarch flame to cultivate? Yi Tianqian nodded under Xiaoyan's shocked gaze. That's right, I have said it before. The monarch flame was a sacred item of a great world. No one could imagine its true strength. In essence, it has a human body. However, the structure of their bodies was not that of a real human. It was very difficult to cultivate the monarch skill of a human. Therefore, this monarch flame secret skill is a monarch skill that is suitable for cultivating monarch skills. Pausing for a moment, Yi Tianqian continued. Not only does a sacred item like the monarch flame have the secret skill, as far as I know. The other 11 sacred items also have their own secret skill. Furthermore, there aren't any other sacred items among the 12 sacred items. There are also many who possess the secret skill. After saying that, Yi Tianqian stretched out his hand, and a ball of red flames with a hint of gold appeared. Your Chaos Great Monarch Flame is still a bit far away from the Sovereign Master realm. If you cultivate the Monarch Flame secret skill, I think you can fight the Sovereign Master. After listening to Yi Tianqian's words with endless shock, Xiaoyan subconsciously swallowed his saliva. Suddenly, as if he had realized something, he asked curiously, Elder Yi, you are so familiar with this Monarch Flame secret skill. Could it be that you also have the Monarch Flame? Yi Tianqian snorted lightly and said with some pride and pride. That is, as an alchemist saint master who was once famous throughout the various regions, how could I not have Monarch Flame? As his voice fell, Yi Tianqian waved his sleeve. In the next moment, a drop of blue water appeared in front of Xiaoyan. The moment the drop of water appeared, the Chaos Great Monarch Flame seemed to have encountered an expert. The flame immediately shook violently. The fire dimmed down a lot, as if it was bowing to the drop of water. Xiaoyan looked at the strange water droplet in front of him with a serious expression. Although the water droplet was not the size of his fingernail, it contained a huge amount of energy that made Xiaoyan's heart tremble. It was as if he could see an endless wave rushing towards him, burning everything in its way into nothingness. This monarch flame is called Refining Monarch Hai Tianyan. It is ranked 24 on the Monarch Flame ranking. This monarch flame only exists in a bottomless abyss. When it is at its peak, it can turn into a huge wave that is tens of thousands of meters long. Nothing under this huge wave will exist. Yi Tianqian casually said and put away the water droplet. Xiaoyan's eyes sparkled. When it was at its peak, it indicated that it was extremely weak. It seemed like the battle back then was really intense to be able to cause such a serious injury to the monarch flame. But the Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire that made my name spread across the world is the Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire. The Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire is ranked 16th on the Monarch Flame ranking, and its power is enough to shake the heavens and earth. Your current strength is still too weak, so I won't let you see it. Yi Tianqian coughed lightly, and said. When he heard the first sentence of Yi Tianqian, Xiaoyan felt incomparably shocked in his heart. Having two kinds of monarch flames was enough to prove Yi Tianqian's strength. When he thought of the supreme saint who killed Yi Tianqian, Xiaoyan was incomparably shocked in his heart. Yi Tianqian was a mighty supreme saint, and then an alchemist with extremely powerful soul force. Lastly, he had two kinds of monarch flame. At that time, Yi Tianqian could easily deal with a supreme saint of the same level. He might even be able to fight someone of a higher level than him, but even so, he was still killed. How powerful was the saint who killed Yi Tianqian? Yi Tianqian's last sentence made Xiaoyan smile. He didn't want to expose Yi Tianqian's obvious excuse. It wasn't because he was too weak. It was probably because the Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire was injured and the source of the fire that he couldn't move anymore. Back then, I was just a monarch cultivation warrior. The Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire appeared in an ancient desert in Middle Domain. After it appeared, it attached itself to a tree that had been growing for billions of years. With the help of the Bodhi, it had killed more than a dozen heavenly sovereign warriors. It forced countless of people to retreat. After I succeeded, I was ambushed during the refining process. I almost died. Luckily, refining Monarch Hai Tianyan neutralized it in my body before I successfully absorbed it. When mentioning the dangers of the past, fear still flashed in Yi Tianqian's eyes. It could be seen that the dangers Yi Tianqian had suffered in order to obtain the Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire were not something that could be summarized in a few words. Although the Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire is only ranked 16th, it is still extremely powerful. The top 3 on the Monarch Flame ranking has already become a legend. The 4th Monarch Flame has also disappeared for a long time. This means that the true ranking of the Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire is 12. Yi Tianqian hurriedly added, as if he was afraid that Xiaoyan would look down on his famous Monarch Flame. Xiaoyan sighed deeply in his heart. Under the constant stimulation, a ripple finally appeared in his calm heart. It was indeed worthy of being called an ultimate saint expert. It was actually able to subdue such a powerful Monarch Flame. It was very easy for Xiaoyan to imagine the power of the Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire. It was likely that the Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire would be able to easily incinerate the Heavenly Sovereign Expert at its peak. This Monarch Flame's secret skill was obtained by me when I obtained the Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire. With the Thousand Leaves Ancient Monarch Fire's strength, this Monarch Flame's secret skill has broken through the Monarch Arts and reached the Holy Arts. However, when you use your Chaos Great Monarch Flame, the most you can do is to use a mid-grade Monarch Art. Shaking his head gloomily, Xiaoyan couldn't help but smack his lips. The Holy Arts was a Monarch skill that was much stronger than the Monarch Arts. The Monarch skill in the big world was divided into 2 grades and 6 grades. The lowest grade was the Monarch Arts, the Monarch Spell, the Monarch Art, and the higher grade was the low-grade Saint Technique, the high-grade Saint Technique, and the Holy Arts. However, the higher-grade Monarch skill like the Saint Techniques only existed in legends. Even if there was one, it could be considered a sacred object and could not be reached. To be more precise, high-grade Monarch skill were extremely rare. Those who could possess them were either from large families or top-grade experts. Normally, even some of the top Emperor cultivation experts only had a few low-grade Monarch skill of the Monarch Arts grade. The scarcity of high-grade Monarch skill could be seen from this. To the current Xiaoyan, the Monarch Arts was an extremely powerful Monarch skill. Even a low-grade Monarch spell was enough to make up for the limitations brought by the Flame Mantra. However, this Monarch Flame secret skill was merely a mid-grade Emperor Art. It was simply too low-grade. Xiaoyan could only say these words in his heart, but he didn't dare to show it on his face. Immediately, he said respectfully, Elder Yi, please enlighten me. Yi Tianqian chuckled, his eyes looking at Xiao Yan became more and more satisfied. He said, whether you can learn it or not will depend on the tacit understanding between you and the Chaos Great Monarch Flame. As he spoke, he flicked his finger. The Chaos Great Monarch Flame arrived in front of Xiao Yan and transformed into a Xiaoyi. After jumping onto Xiao Yan's shoulder, Yi Tianqian's expression became slightly serious. He stretched out his palm, and a blood-red beam shot out from his palm like a bolt of lightning. It turned into a fire beast that was as tall as a man in the air, like a wolf or a tiger. His body was burning with raging flames, and only his fang-li teeth were exposed. This is the Monarch Flame secret skill I obtained back then. It's called the Wheel of Fire Dao. Under normal circumstances, the Monarch Flame secret skill can transform into any shape it wants. This Wheel of Fire Dao is the shape of a devil beast. The Chaos Great Monarch Flame must devour it in order to learn the Monarch Flame secret skill. Yi Tianqian looked at the ferocious fire beast path in the air. Xiao Yan nodded and looked at the Xiaoyi. At this moment, the latter was looking at the fire beast formed by the fire wheel, with a joyful expression. His eyes were filled with greed. Xiao Yan was the most familiar with this kind of gaze. Whenever he encountered something tempting, his eyes were like this. He patted the Xiaoyi's head. Xiao Yan said softly, Xiaoyi, you are a sacred monarch flame. A portion can definitely devour it. The Xiaoyi nodded its big head. Its small pink face was filled with seriousness. With a soft squeal, the Xiaoyi turned into a ball of flame and rushed towards the fire beast like a bolt of lightning. The fire beast stood in the air and looked at the Chaos Great Monarch Flame that was charging towards it. It instinctively felt some fear in its heart. However, when it sensed the strength of the Xiaoyi, the fear in its eyes immediately lessened. With a furious roar, the fire beast also charged towards the Xiaoyi with layers of flames. The beast and the fire crashed into each other like two shooting stars, producing a huge explosion sound. In the next moment, a ball of fire flew out from the smoke produced by the explosion, and instantly turned into a fire net that was dozens of meters in size, firmly wrapping the fire beast in the middle. Within the fire net, the fire beast had fallen into the trap of the Xiaoyi due to its carelessness. Immediately, it began to struggle violently, and its furious roars could be heard without an end. As the fire beast struggled, the sound of the fire net being torn could be heard continuously. Just as Xiao Yan was worrying, Yi Tianqian suddenly said, the Chaos Great Monarch Flame isn't a match for the Monarch Flame secret skill. Little guy, you go ahead and attack. Xiao Yan was startled. When he saw Yi Tianqian pointing at the top of his skull, he suddenly realized what was happening. He closed his eyes and moved his mind. A surge of soul force rushed out from between Xiaoyan's eyebrows and bombarded the fire beast in the smoke. Feeling Xiaoyan's soul power, which was much stronger than an ordinary person's, Yi Tianqian's eyes sparkled. He looked at Xiao Yan with a thoughtful look. Woo! Along with a miserable cry, Xiao Yan opened his eyes with a pale face. The strike just now seemed to have hit an iron plate, causing his soul to feel a slight pain. No one in the Fighting Key continent could match his soul as a sovereign realm expert. However, he had suffered such a great injury just by trying to attack it. He didn't even dare to think about using it to concoct pills. The effect of Xiao Yan's soul attack was quite obvious. Caught off guard, Xiao Yan had injured the beast's origin. The fire beast's body trembled, and its footsteps became hurried. The Chaos Great Monarch Flame took the opportunity to increase the intensity of the fire, and like a fire net that covered the heaven and earth, it once again engulfed the fire beast. Chapter end. Hi guys, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.